As of recently, there's been a ton of debate surrounding the Paper Mario series. Initially starting off as an RPG spin-off to the Mario series, it was beloved for all the unique settings and characters that the first two games brought forth. The Thousand Year Door in particular was especially praised for its grand world and story. It's something you'd never see in any other Mario game. Also, these games were RPGs. RPGs with an incredibly fun battle system with action commands, partners, all sorts of cool stuff. These first two games were heavily praised, and Nintendo had a pretty good thing going for a while. Then, something weird happened. Super Paper Mario was released on the Wii following Thousand Year Door. It had its own unique world for Mario to explore, though a little less creative than Thousand Year Door's environments. However, it still had its own charm. But the big change here came to the battle system. Or should I say, the lack thereof. For some reason, the game was made purely into a 2.5D side-scroller with no RPG mechanics to speak of other than retaining level-ups. This is a drastic shift, and I don't think anyone will ever understand why they did this. The only reason I can think of is Nintendo probably thought that an RPG wouldn't appeal to the Wii's casual audience, so they made a platformer instead. Even though the old battle system was so simple on the surface that an unborn child could learn how to play it, but I digress. They really sawed the balls off of this one, but people still enjoyed it for its story. As for me personally, no. Okay, then what happened next? Look, at this point, I really shouldn't have to say anything. I mean, sometimes I get tired of introducing games to you people acting like you don't know what I'm talking about, so let's not beat around the bush. Okay, where do I even begin? For various reasons, the game, which was expected to be another fun turn-based Mario RPG on the 3DS, ended up becoming one of the most negatively received Mario games of all time. Remember how Super Paper Mario still had original characters, settings, and a good story backing it up? Well, for some reason, that wasn't seen as important by the dev team, so they threw it all away. Sticker Star features the most generic areas and characters you could ever expect. Everyone is just Toad. Literally everyone. I'm Toad, you're Toad, we're all Toad. Okay, but does the gameplay save it? No. Even as its own thing, it's still pretty flawed. Doesn't it sound fun exploring generic levels, solving annoying and dumb puzzles, doing pointless battles that net you no rewards whatsoever aside from coins used to invest in stickers that you use in more pointless battles? I know it's popular to hate on this game a lot, and I'm not usually one to jump on hate trains, but like, even as its own standalone game, Sticker Star isn't very fun. I'll give it credit, the soundtrack is solid, and I occasionally find the battles to be enjoyable, but overall it's beyond boring. About as much as Super Paper Mario. Oh. Sticker Star strayed even farther away from the original RPG formula by removing level-ups, and even though I don't like Super that much, at least it actually had an original world. It's just so bland. Now after all of that, imagine a follow-up to Sticker Star for the Wii U being casually announced in 2016. Paper Mario Color Splash received a universal negativity upon being announced. How could Nintendo do this? They should know that this isn't what we want! Sticker Star 2? Really? The end product is rather perplexing. Paper Mario Color Splash still has mostly Toads instead of brand new characters as NPCs, but there are still a few slightly unique ones. The battles serve more purpose because you can get EXP to expand the max amount of paint you can hold, and best of all, the exploration is tons of fun. The levels in Color Splash are an absolute blast. There are plenty of completely new areas to see here too. You won't just be traversing generic Mario worlds. How about you invade a big battle base, or explore a haunted hotel? You stole! Paper Mario Color Splash is good. Really good. Really good. Bro, this is so unbelievable, but this game is a significantly improved Sticker Star. There are so many good ideas here, clever writing, and a fun world. This sounds literally impossible, but the Sticker Star formula actually had potential. Despite the major upgrade here, people still had their mostly reasonable issues with it. We'll get to those later, but there's one thing I want to bring up now. Because it retains the Sticker Star formula, the game obviously still has plenty of detractors. And one incredibly common complaint is It doesn't matter that it's a better version of Sticker Star, because it's not like the first two games. Now Luggo, you have two choices. You can either side with the Thousand Year Door fans and demand a return to form, or you can knock it off its pedestal and deem it to be overrated, stating the new formula to be the future of Paper Mario. Be very careful. You may want to think about which group of fans will be more toxic in the comments section. Dude, you're taking video games way too seriously. And let's be honest, the Thousand Year Door fans would be infinitely more toxic. Hey, don't look at me like that. We both know that's true. But at the same time, is it really overrated? Bro, screw this. Instead of calling one bad because it's different or one overrated, how about we talk about the good and bad of both? As someone who loves Thousand Year Door and Color Splash almost equally, I think I can find the best of both worlds here. Let's talk about Thousand Year Door first. There's a lot to love with this game, but my favorite things about it have to be the scenarios and the combat. Each chapter takes you to a fresh location with a fun scenario. This includes partaking in a fighting league with some shady business going on behind the scenes, confronting a dude turning people into pigs only for him to steal your body, or going on a trouble-filled train ride to retrieve the next crystal star. Each chapter will have different characters and follow their own stories while also introducing you to partners who will join you for the adventure. On top of that, the overarching story is pretty good too, with the interludes between each chapter. It's definitely a much more interesting Mario plot than usual. Then there's the combat, which is incredibly entertaining. While the action commands are basic, I think what really makes it fun has to be the partners and badges. Your partners can be great help during certain fights and can learn new abilities throughout the game. And the badges offer several powers to use, such as exclusive attacks, stat buffs, or unique effects altogether. The battle system is pretty basic on the surface, but there's a lot of little things that make it entertaining and add strategy. So all of the praise for Thousand Year Door isn't really misplaced at all. I know that some of the fans of this game can be a little bit volatile, but it's still great regardless. Now moving on to Color Splash, the locations aren't quite as unique as the ones in Thousand Year Door. However, they're a giant step up compared to what was in Sticker Star. There's still plenty of fun locations to explore in the game, even if they are infested with more toads than my backyard, but whatever. Remember the whole chapter dedicated to sailing towards a pirate island with a parallel world? Or how about the level where you're at a restaurant and have to prepare a steak? So that's good and all, but what about the combat? Okay, I must say that I think the game is lacking a bit in this regard. The combat is fine, and I think it works well with the bosses, but that's because it has a slower pace. It takes a page out of Sticker Star, and retains the battle system from that game. You use cards for your attacks, fill them in with paint, and depending on how much paint is in the card, your power will scale up. I think it's pretty fun coming up with the right strategy to take out all the enemies at once, but after a while, it gets pretty tedious sorting through all of your cards for every turn. Now, unlike Sticker Star, there's actually a point to fighting. You get EXP to increase the max amount of paint you can hold. That way, you'll have more to work with for important fights and painting in blank spots on the overworld. Speaking of which... Oh, the exploration is so much fun. My goodness, the exploration is my favorite part of the game. I mean, I already like most of the themes of each level, but actually exploring them is great. The plot in this game involves Prisma Island getting its paint stolen, so you have to travel around the island and fill in any blank spots, while also collecting paint stars to progress. You'll be rewarded with cards for painting in blank spots, plus it's generally just fun to do. I also love the dialogue and character interactions during each level. It's pretty shocking how many genuinely funny moments there are. So, that was completely unexpected for this game to be of this high quality. But, you know something I find funny? Color Splash's issue is the combat, but its strength is the level design. With Thousand Year Door, though, that's the complete opposite. Even though I like the areas from a conceptual standpoint in Thousand Year Door, they aren't that fun to explore, and at certain points, it's outright boring. I'm not saying it's all bad, there are plenty of goodies hidden in nooks and crannies, and the main exploration is pretty decent. But it's nothing special, and at times, has baffling design choices. Chapter 4 is the biggest offender here. You've got Twilight Town, which is this great area, then you take a trek to Creepy Steeple to see who's causing all the trouble back in town. Find a dude, beat him, and you think it's the end of the chapter. Pretty anticlimactic, until you realize he took your body! And after all of that great setup, the game falls down the stairs. Okay, so you encounter him on your way back from Creepy Steeple, and he asks what his name is. Even if you already know that his name is Dupless, you can't type it because the lowercase p got stolen. Wait, what? So you get Vivian as a partner, cool, whatever. You go back to Creepy Steeple, learn that his name is Dupless, get the lowercase p, go back to Twilight Town, tell him his name, and then he runs away. Gee, I wonder where he went! Hello everyone, Luggo here for Game Design 101. Today, we'll be teaching you how to design a level in a video game. This line will be the path you follow. Now, there will be a tiny bit of backtracking, but not too much. So you just go there, then pop, 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 pop. The game makes you travel to and from Creepy Steeple multiple times, which is honestly awful design. And the worst part is that there are a few other instances of something like this happening. General White will never be forgiven for his goose chase across the entire world. I guess that just goes to show that they both have their fair share of problems. However, the good stuff greatly outweighs the bad for both. I know that Color Splash is definitely not what people wanted it to be, and the initial reaction was justified to a certain extent, but even though it isn't a return to form, it's still good, for a completely different reason. I don't know why they completely changed the series, but it still gave us a fun game. And I do think that the beginning of Color Splash definitely leaves a bad impression, that it's just more Sticker Star, but after the first chapter, the game kicks into high gear and shows how this style can work. But regardless of that, people are still very divided on these two games. There's the Thousand Year Door elitists who think if it's different, then it's bad. Granted, I guess that's true for Nintendo fans in general. And on the other hand, we have an unnamed group that think Thousand Year Door is overrated. Though there are plenty of people in the middle, such as myself. They're both fun for different reasons. One is fun for being an entertaining RPG with the most creative take on Mario to date, and the other is fun for its grand adventure with refined mechanics from the title that came before it. And you know what? I see a ton of judgmental opinions flung towards both the games, and personally, they're not well-deserved at all. Sure, Thousand Year Door does have plenty of design flaws and tedious moments, but most of the time it isn't overwhelming in the slightest. I think it's more replayable than Color Splash for its mechanics. And yeah, Color Splash isn't like the older games, but it was still a great time aside from the dull beginning. To try and paint either of these games in that negative light is an incredible disservice to both. Most of the Color Splash detractors that I see haven't even gotten past Chapter 1. And yeah, sure, first impressions matter a lot, but I wouldn't say it's fair to judge a whole game based off the first few levels. Both games have plenty of great things to offer, so what if one day we got a Paper Mario game with the best aspects of these two? The fun combat and world of Thousand Year Door with the writing and exploration of Color Splash. That's what I want to close this video off with. Discussing that possibility. It won't be long till Origami King is out, and right now, we don't have any idea what to think about it. It seems to be taking after Color Splash, which, to be honest, I was hoping they'd go back to the original gameplay. I mean, you like to think they would have done that by now, but I guess they think it's funny to see the fanbase writhe in pain. Anyway, that disappointment quickly faded away as it looks like an even more fun adventure than before. Additionally, it seems like the combat will take some notes from Thousand Year Door with the same crowd mechanic and partners that will hopefully fight alongside you. I mean, who knows? Maybe what I'm hoping for will be delivered. Either that, or this whole segment of the video will age horribly. Paper Mario has had quite the ride, and even if it keeps changing, I'll always hope for the best. I love Thousand Year Door, but I also love Color Splash, so even if something is different, it can hopefully still be fun in its own right. But I would appreciate it if they brought back more of the RPG features from the older titles. Anyway, I'm Luggo the Luggician, and thank you very much for watching.